We focus on the heart of the GLP-1 community. Real people, real stories, and the fight for affordable access. By listening, you are supporting our advocacy efforts to make these life-changing medications accessible to everyone who needs them. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement. Welcome to the GLP-1 Collective.
Welcome to the GLP-1 Collective. My name is Amanda Bonello, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. My oldest and dearest friend, Shawn, will be interviewing me so that I can share the story of how a petition grew into a podcast, a movement, and eventually a charitable nonprofit dedicated to advocating for affordable access to GLP-1 medications, normalizing their use through community-driven storytelling, and empowering individuals through support groups and educational tools. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope that you enjoy.
How long have we been friends?
Probably like 10 years. Let's say since I was 19, right? And I'm 29 now.
Okay.
I don't know.
That adds up.
Longer than a decade.
We've been friends forever. And you've seen me in my highs and you've seen me in my lows, and no one knows me better, honestly. So who better to interview me than the person who I spend 5-hour long conversations with on the phone? Let's talk about how we met.
Sure.
We met like 11 years ago. We've been best friends since then. I would say no one knows my soul better. How would you say we met?
Playing video games. It's a very
true.
I mean, that's the answer. It's the truth.
It's very true. And it's the most appropriate meeting for two people who are super introverted.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. I could not have met you any other way at that point in my life.
My husband couldn't have either.
That's true as well.
In fact, some of my closest friends have come from playing video games because you spend so much time together.
I think that's such an interesting point, too. The idea that, you can't have really good friends that you meet online, and you married one. So I would say that isn't the case at all.
No, it's very true. I have a theory that you spend more time with your gaming buddies than you do your in-life friends because it is so easy. You don't have to drive to someone's house. You don't have to go out. You don't have to host them and clean up. You can just sit in your jammies and chill with your homies, and they don't have to physically see you. So there's no pressure to prepare yourself in advance and cut your nails and brush your teeth and wash your hair and dress cool to impress them. And that's a really interesting thing to bring up, actually. I've just intrigued myself. The fact that you and I did not have to see each other. I think that because of that, we were able to bond the way that we did, because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, both of us were pretty self-conscious about how we looked.
I think, well, I would definitely say that was the case earlier in my life. A, I was very self-conscious with how I looked. And B, I spent all of the time that I wanted to socialize online. And for a good reason that I want to talk about in a minute. I feel like things have changed now in my life. I spend a lot more time with my real life friends, or being busy, spending time with people in person than just hanging out with, my gaming buddies. But it's still something that I like to do, that I love to do. And I really appreciate, respect, and love the people that I've met online. One of whom obviously is the best friend that I've ever had. They're pretty special.
Did that?
I think when you're online, you have an opportunity to present yourself as you see yourself in your head, a lot closer to that character that you're trying to live up to. And there's this huge barrier, this transition between your innermost thoughts, your innermost character, and trying to translate that into the real world. And it feels like suddenly there are all these different lenses that we apply, all these different colors, these filters. And so when you meet someone, you're likely to make judgments, you're likely to make biases. But when you're online, the strength of your character is determined by what you have to say, what you think, who you are, and finding people that feel the same way. And that anonymity gives you the ability to really present yourself, because suddenly you don't have to worry about the consequences of meeting someone and that not turning out the way that you would like it to. There's a lot more comfortability because there's a lot more control in how you interact online. Suddenly you're an individual that in your room, you can just be yourself. And other people will respond to that. They'll see who you are, they'll listen to you, and they'll be like, hey, I really like spending time with this person, doing the things that we both want to do, which could be playing games, watching movies, whatever it is.
That is so true, though.
I think I've had a lot of issues trying to project myself through those layers, through those biases, through however I felt like who I was in my life. Whereas online, I could just be me and see people appreciate that. And you were one of them. And for you, I was one of them as well. And over time, we talked about many things, many personal things. And I truly believe the strength of my character and who I am as a person wouldn't nearly be as evolved and established as it is today, as the person that I am proud to have become. I really needed that from you. And it was this person that I met online who changed my world. And now this person is changing the lives and worlds of so many others. And to say that I'm surprised or shocked would be just incorrect, because really, to me, it's like, they were a beacon of hope when I needed it most and sent me on the way to being the best me that I could be. And now for untold people, they are now fighting so that they too can be the best self that they want to be and have this beacon of hope to transition them into something wonderful, something amazing.
I think you give me too much credit.
I think I give you a perfectly reasonable amount of credit. Maybe that's why we get along so well,
Well, I'm really proud of the person that you've matured into, too. Not that there was anything wrong with you before. I'm really proud of all of the versions of you.
There are so many questions that I can ask you. I would ask, who are you?
Well, I'm a 36-year-old mother of 3, daughter, sister, wife, advocate. That's at least all on the surface. I'm also a deeply emotional person who is extremely empathetic, and I saw a community who was terrified of losing access to life-saving medication before I even started taking it myself. I was looking around in the various social areas to find out what this medication was all about. And it was at a time when the FDA had taken this medication off of the shortage list just for 1 week. Then they got sued and put it back on. But during that week, everyone was freaking out. So I'm on Reddit and people are talking about going to the black web and stockpiling and buying from drug dealers, essentially. It was a wild time. And I looked around and I'm like, do I even want to get into this? Because it could become completely unavailable anytime now. There's no way that I can afford the price tag on the name brand. But it blew my mind that there wasn't a large group of people who were fighting for affordable access. I felt like if no one's doing it, then I need to start. And I started the petition to fight for affordable access. And it genuinely was not for myself, because I, like I said, had not even started this journey yet. And to me, it was still at a time where it was like, well, if it works, that's cool. If it doesn't, I guess I'll try something else. No, I haven't tried every other thing in the world, so it would just be trying another thing. But to see all of these people who had these transformative experiences, and I was truly moved by people saying that they were so depressed and in so much pain that they couldn't walk, they couldn't exercise. Now they're running half marathons, they're eating healthy, and they're feeling so empowered. It's an incredibly courageous that these people are sharing their journeys online. I'm just looking at all of these people in the community and thinking about how absolutely cruel it would be to take a person who has just learned how to run, spread their wings, and they are living their best life, feeling for the first time in their life proud of who they see in the mirror and confident and comfortable and loud because they've been marginalized and quiet their whole life. And to make them go back to living that small, marginalized, neglected, treated poorly life. I don't even have the words for the amount of social abuse that people who are obese have to put up with. I am out of words. I don't have words. It's shocking and upsetting.
I feel like you found other words to use, which is we need to give them the ability to live the life that they need, that they want. There are no words to cover the tragedy. You certainly found the words to say to make a change and start a movement and give people hope.
That's true.
So to walk back,
At least I'm trying to. Sorry. At least I'm trying to.
I think you're doing a pretty okay job, if you ask me. You walked into this wild west of GLP-1 affordability, where people are talking about the black web or stockpiling. And you thought to yourself, before you were even invested personally, you said, this is terrible. I need to do something. And you took it on yourself to make this change.
That is true.
So how does one go from thinking to themselves, I want to make a difference, to taking the steps to actually make a difference?
I honestly don't feel like I've made a difference at all yet. And yet is a big keyword because I have big, huge plans and I can truly, for the first time in my life, see a path forward for exactly how I'm going to execute those plans. I plan to help every single person in the world who needs it. And I know that that is a big thing to ask, but I'm going to dedicate my life to this cause. I want to save the freaking world. I'm not trying to exaggerate. I'm genuinely fully invested, and I cannot wait to really see the fruits of my efforts and truly change someone's life for the better.
I think it really changing the world, doing something as difficult, this monolithic task. I think it really takes a hero just to even start, to begin taking the steps necessary to even have this change come into place. And I guess what I want to ask you is, what was the first thing you did to go from looking on Reddit and seeing that there was a lack of GLP-1s, and from there go and start doing all of the many projects that you've begun?
I love that you're asking this because I have not really told my story to anyone. I've been focusing hard on all of the social media sites that I'm using to really mostly talk about advocacy and try to thank everyone individually for signing the petition and joining the movement in one form or another. So it's kind of exciting to be able to lay it all out there. It all started on Reddit, where I was truly just trying to find information to see if it was something that I wanted to do. And when I saw that there was a call to action, I heeded the call. And this was just from the many people who were really scared of what was going to happen when they lost access. There was no direct bat signal in the sky, but there were a lot of people who were just terrified and had no direction. I started a petition. My first step was to go to ChatGPT and say, hey, what can I do to make a difference? What can I truly do? I went to ChatGPT. I don't know that you'll want to keep this in, but at the time I had named my ChatGPT Lil Squidge. I went to ChatGPT and I said, hey, what can I do to truly make a difference? And it said, start with a petition. I was like, okay, but do petitions really make a difference? And it was like, yeah, they can, but it didn't really lay out the foundation that I have now found for myself and my own path for making a difference. So I went to change.org. I made a petition to fight for affordability, and I started reaching out on Reddit to all of the compound tirzepatide, compound semaglutide, Ozempic, Zepbound, 100-pound weight loss, SlimRx, Henry's, Mochi Health. I went on all of these threads, Iowa, Cedar Rapids. I would say most of them, the vast majority, either did not respond or responded really rudely, which is par for the course with Reddit.
It's crushing, but that's the internet.
Half of the community, it was eventually extremely supportive. In fact, I would say that they were the most supportive people that I found along my entire journey, was the people that I found on Reddit. And I didn't even know who they were. Initially, it was a depressing place to start. I'll say that.
Now, I need to make a mention here. You've mentioned change.org, and we are looking at close to 17,000 supporters on what is trending in business regulation. I mean, this is a very, very important thing that people are very involved with. And just looking at the comments, seeing people saying save my mom.
Yeah.
And it is things that really impact you deeply because we're talking about people, real people who need this.
Yeah, that was what kept me going, actually, because I had been doing all of this by myself. And there were times when I just broke down. I would say almost every week. Like by the end of the week, I would be crying because I just felt like I wasn't doing enough. Like it didn't matter what I did, that I was screaming into a void essentially, and I'm trying to help people that aren't reciprocating. Then I would go on the petition and people would be promoting it. You pay to promote the petition. Even a $2 donation once got like 75 signatures, which was crazy. And people were on there donating what they could. $1, $8, $2, $25. And every single dollar was making a difference. But on top of that, what really got me was the comments. And there are almost 100 now, I think. But you can really hear like a plea for help in those comments. It got me through all of the dark times. So I started with the petition, 1,000 signatures in, 2 news media sources reached out. USA Today and Politico, both on the same day, ironically, wanted to interview me. It was just for articles. I thought, well, it's a start. I know I'm not going to go straight to national news immediately, but yeah, I can't help but feel like every step of the way has just not been enough. So I went to Instagram next. You probably know this about me. I don't use social media. The only thing I have used like in my whole life is Discord and TeamSpeak.
You know me. You know that's true for me as well.
Yes. And those are really exclusive. You're only talking to the people that you are gaming with every day, unless you venture off into other servers, which are still private servers. So I go to Instagram and I started making these posts like, the GLP-1 community needs your help. Come sign this petition. No one knows me. No one's even looking. No one's even clicking. No one's even trying. And I'm like, okay, what else can I do? So I start stitching other people's videos. Like I go to people's pages that say that they're advocates and I'm like, okay, this person says they're a GLP-1 advocate and they have all these followers. Surely they want to help. Surely they are aware of the situation and they want to help the community. And I didn't get any responses at all until one single person who I was actually just on her podcast. She did post a video telling the FDA that what they were doing was wrong and that they couldn't take the only affordable option away from people. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for saying something, because I'm on Instagram looking at all of the GLP-1 tabs and trying to follow all of the people who are on these journeys, and no one is talking about it. The FDA is going to take tirzepatide off of the shortage list and no one is talking about it. I mean, it's so rare to find a post about that. So I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing on Instagram. I am not a social media queen. I do not know what I'm doing. And I'm not reaching enough people. I've got like 100 followers and the lowest amount of engagement. And I'm like, okay, I know TikTok is supposed to have a larger base of GLP-1 users, but I don't know how to freaking use it. It's like, I did use MySpace briefly in high school, and Instagram feels closer to that, but TikTok was all videos and it was like totally foreign to me. I didn't really have a computer until I was in my mid-20s when I bought one to start gaming because I was lonely and playing video games by myself. And I was like, oh, it'd be really cool to play video games with people. I think I'll buy a computer. So I go to TikTok. Don't know what I'm doing, but because of their algorithm, you find and connect with people so much faster. And I'd say in a pretty short amount of time, I reached 1,000 followers and people were very receptive there. There still wasn't a whole lot of talk about the lack of affordability or the concern for tirzepatide coming off of the shortage list. But there were some people who were supportive. There was a decent amount of people who were signing the petition. And I genuinely thanked every single one of them with an individual video saying, thank you for signing the petition.
Yeah, I definitely watched them too. Yeah, I've seen those.
Aw, there's a lot. And I had this really unique experience over there because it was so warm and fuzzy. Everyone was so welcoming and kind and very communicative. It's a super interactive space. And I never in my life thought that I would care if TikTok went away. But now I'm genuinely sad at the idea of losing this community that I feel like I've only just entered. I'm still meeting new people every day. And it's it's been really nice to find people that I feel like I can connect to on during such an important stage of my life, where I'm on this GLP-1 journey, and you only know what that's like if you're on a GLP-1 journey. And I want to say, truly, you only know the half of it if you've spent your life being obese. You still don't know what it's really like until you're on it yourself and you're in a community that is so supportive. And I feel very fortunate to have found these people.
To support what you were saying, owing to an earlier comment that you made, this medicine, it gives people who can't even walk the opportunity to run. There is a hypercriticality where you are demonized for your weight based on what it is that you're doing with your life. What kind of choices are you making? And here we're seeing this is the medicine that gives people the opportunity to live their lives, to do things that they otherwise could not.
It's true. It's like a modern day miracle. It's been acknowledged as such by the government. It is a modern day miracle drug. And it's curing things it's curing a lot more than just obesity. And it has, we're inclined to believe that it can cure even more. So it's not just curing obesity, which has also been recognized as a disease by the government. It's also curing PCOS, sleep apnea. I'm not sure how much you actually know about GLP-1s, which is why it's so interesting that you're on this podcast, because it's probably a really unique experience for you.
Well, I know it's a lot of names that I can't pronounce.
Yeah. But it's been found to treat addiction in the early stages. And this is 100% true for myself. I have been using nicotine since I was 14 years old, quitting and getting back on it and quitting and getting back on it until I finally found tobacco-free nicotine pouches. And I was like, okay, this is my one Hail Mary. This is the only thing that keeps me away from smoking. Even then, I was sometimes tempted to go back to smoking, but regardless, I could never kick the habit officially. When you're an addict, you're an addict. It's always a struggle. The first day I took this medication, I wanted to quit because I didn't want to have the extra stress on my body with a new medication at the same time. I just quit. I didn't even think about it. I quit cold turkey. I haven't used nicotine since I started this over 2 months ago. I've never quit so easily in my life. And on top of that, I can barely drink. I have to force myself to drink at gatherings. And I was drinking every week, not like an alcoholic, but 2 or 3 beers every weekend.
To bring back something that we discussed earlier, you are a mother, you have a full-time job, you have a lot of responsibilities, a lot of expectations, and now on top of this, you are the president of an officially recognized nonprofit that you are also trying to run simultaneously to the chaos of your life to begin with. And you've told me since you were 16, you've had this battle with nicotine, something that I can relate to. I have my own issues.
I was 14.
14. Yeah, okay, so since you were 14, one can only imagine the amount of stress that is right now placed on your shoulders. I mean, you discussed breaking down at the end of every week just because you were overwhelmed by how much there is. And I don't want to say was, because is. This is ongoing. This is going to be a massive project that you're undertaking. And yet, you have not gone back to smoking to try to handle all of this stress. I mean, that's magical.
God. I didn't even think about that. That's
why
an amazing point.
That's why you pay me the big bucks.
I love it. No, that's an incredible point. I have been under a tremendous amount of stress. You're not wrong, and mentally breaking down. And I'm not turning to food, alcohol, or nicotine. But what's more, I have thrown up one time since I started this medication. It was within the first week, and for someone who's bulimic, to not obsess about the food that you're putting in your mouth and the calories that you're consuming and the need to get rid of them in any way possible. It has been the most incredibly freeing experience. I don't feel like I have to weigh myself. I do to keep track on shot day, but I don't feel like I have to obsessively weigh myself. I am not obsessively exercising to the point of injuring myself like I have so many times before. I'm not fasting. I'm able to think clearly. I'm able to eat an adequate amount of protein and make sure that my nutrition is going well. I'm able to make choices to eat healthier foods, and I can function. I mean, I can drive home without feeling possessed to go to the donut shop and buy a dozen donuts and then eat them really fast in my car in shame and then dispose of the evidence before I go home to throw it up. Or worse, stop at a grocery store to throw it up because I'm worried that I'll be holding onto those calories for too long to get rid of all of them by the time I get home. It's been a freaking miracle. And I have tried 8 different antidepressants to try to cure my brain chemistry because I thought that my brain had to be broken in order to have this eating disorder ruling my life. And every one of them had absolutely horrible side effects. One of them, 2 of them, gave me suicidal ideations for the first time in my life. I'm such a happy person naturally. And when I saw that suicidal ideation was on the black label, I was like, oh, I don't have to worry about that. I'm a happy person. I've never even thought about killing myself. But I was at the point where I couldn't drive down the street without seeing something like a rebarb sticking out of the ground and thinking I should just go pull over and jump on it. I'm just in the most mentally and emotionally stable and healthy state I can remember being on because I have been suffering with bulimia for so long.
For all the time that I've known you, I've always known that this is a topic I could never understand. No matter how much I tried, no matter how much I thought to empathize, to sympathize, I couldn't know. But I do know that there is a great relativity between all of us people, and that is the struggles that we go through. We all have the ways that we defeat ourselves, how the odds are stacked against us, and it feels like it's our fault. We're a prisoner of these things that life has thrown on us. And there is this ray of light in your life, this medication that now acts as a key to this prison that has given you the opportunity to live free of this unspeakable burden that has driven you so far down all these years. It's incredible to me that you took this and you thought to yourself, I want to give this to everybody I possibly can because they deserve to feel better like I do.
I've been hearing that from a lot of advocates that every single person in the world should have access to this medication if they need it. It has changed all of our lives, and we all know the magic of that. We don't want it for ourselves. We want it for everyone. Everyone should be able to feel just as free as we do. So I was just on the Plus Sides podcast. I think I just mentioned that when I was on Instagram, there was only one person that was talking, that posted a video after I'd reached out telling the FDA that they needed to shape up, essentially. And I was like, oh my God, you're amazing. Thank you so much for just talking about it. And that's who just had me on their podcast. It was Kim Carlos. And I've been telling everyone she's essentially my hero. She was a lifeline for me when I was really struggling to find anybody who cared. She helped me keep going. She was one of the people, along with the comments on the petition, that helped me keep pushing. And she has been so incredibly supportive on TikTok, commenting on my videos and tagging a lawyer when I said that I needed a lawyer pro bono to help with the 501c3 filings. She just had me on her podcast. So she's truly been an angel in my life, and I'm so incredibly grateful. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Kim. It's kind of understated because of how I feel, how well put together you are, how passionate you are, that really, as the media puts it, you are Iowa woman. You are just one of us. You are a person living your life, and you've decided to make this your mission. How do you feel when, like, suddenly you're talking, for instance, to the media?
I feel like I am Iowa woman. I feel like I am just another person who is worried about losing access. But again, more than that, I'm worried about all of the other people in the entire world, the millions of people who could potentially lose access altogether because the name brand is inhumanely expensive. I just feel like a normal person. I feel extremely proud of myself for going through the steps to create a nonprofit, and I feel absolutely excited about every step of the journey going forward. But I'm just me.
It's a really good you to be. I can't help it, okay? I think very highly of you.
Ditto.
Wow. So you are now the proud president of a nonprofit dedicated to affording GLP-1 availability to as many people that need it. What exactly does that mean? What do you see yourself doing today, tomorrow, in the future to further this goal?
As a nonprofit?
Yeah.
So I started the podcast, the GLP-1 Collective podcast, to grow empathy and compassion within the public, the general public, to help normalize the use of GLP-1s, to really put a face to the fight for affordability. Because I think that a lot of people, there's a big stigma, not just on people who are obese in general, but for people who are obese, who are using this medication to lose weight. There's a ridiculous stigma and fear-mongering and misinformation. To be completely honest, I almost fell for it myself. I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts. Because they're one of my favorite podcasts, I don't want to say who they are because I don't want to give them bad press. I think that they're wonderful. But they said some things about Ozempic and GLP-1s and how they kill people and they cause gastric seizures. Compound medication, you don't know what's in it. Could be anything. It's so dangerous. It's not FDA regulated. People don't even stay on this medication for longer than a year or something like that. And they almost got me. I was like, whoa, why would anyone want to try that? I mean, like, I'm desperate to lose weight, but if it's not working and it's killing you, then it's not working.
So you're telling me Walter White isn't working behind the pharmacy trying to lace my compounds with all sorts of wonderful, great stuff.
That is hilarious. And I promise you, if compounding pharmacies were intentionally lacing or allowing their compounded medications to be laced with illicit drugs, then it would be all over the news as the nastiest smear campaign, because Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk do not want compounding pharmacies making this medication. I guarantee you that the news would jump all over it, just with the stigma that is around using the medication in general. But also, this medication is wildly popular. I saw a statistic that said 1 in 8 people, 12% of the US, has used a GLP-1 at some point in their life. And millions of people are on compound medication alone from the statistic I've seen. We can get into it later or not, but there's no way to know how many people have used compounded medication. So it could be, who knows? I can't even speculate. There's absolutely no way to know. I'm so passionate. I'm clearly so passionate about this topic that I just keep going off like down the rabbit hole. I started the podcast to share stories from within the actual community because I didn't see any podcasts that were dedicated to telling people's stories. There were a lot of podcasts that had facts and doctors, pharmacy reps. There were podcasts that were talking about GLP-1s, but that's not what the podcast was actually about. It was about like gastric bypass surgery. And then there would be episodes where they would be talking about GLP-1s, but there wasn't a dedicated podcast for the community to tell their stories. Like I said, truly put a face to this movement. And I keep saying it is not about the medication. The fight for affordability is about the people who need the medication. It's about the human beings. They're human. They're human beings. And they deserve every bit of respect that every other person on this planet deserves. If you saw a person drowning and you knew that you could reach in and save them, why wouldn't you? And even worse, why would a person see someone else reaching in to grab them and then berate them for it and tell them that they should just learn how to swim? Do it the natural way. Just learn how to swim while they're very clearly drowning. and have very clearly been trying to swim their whole goddamn life. And that's the thing that a lot of people who are not obese do not understand. Every single person who's obese has tried every single thing that they can. At some stage, some of them have just completely given up.
To humanize this, you as the person, as Amanda, you were a huge fan of podcasts for like the past, I would say, 4 years now. I think it's really cool that you went from being someone that listened to them all the time to now use this as a method to move your campaign forward.
Oh yeah, we needed a sounding board. I mean, honestly, it's still just a baby podcast. I've got 2 episodes out, now 3.
Do you think your background in liking podcasts as much as you have really gave you the tools to feel like you are competent to make your own successful one yourself?
I think that I'm really good at empathy and compassion. I know that listening to other people's stories makes me feel more connected to them, especially when they're telling a story that truly resonates with my experience. I don't necessarily think that I'm good at making or will be good at making this podcast, but I do believe that people's stories will touch the hearts of those that listen. Listening to their struggles and their successes might truly pave a way towards normalization. So I started reaching out to local government officials like Bernie Sanders, celebrities, news media sources. Every single one of them ignored me, just like most of the people on these social media sites. And I realized that the podcast would be the best way to reach the most people because no one was listening to my emails and my little 60-second videos. But now we're on Spotify and we're on Apple Podcasts, and hopefully we'll be on another live news source and we'll be reaching more people. So I started the website in order to centralize all of the stuff that we're doing. Actually, originally I started with a blog. Before I even started the petition, I started with a blog. And I was blogging anonymously because I was taking this medication in shame. And I wasn't telling anyone. I didn't tell my own husband until the USA Today and Politico reached out. And then I was like, well, I guess I'm going to have to tell my husband. I guess I'm going to have to tell everyone in my immediate family.
Oh, whoops. I found success.
Well, ironically, I'm blogging about how I'm on this journey, thinking to myself that, maybe one day I'll write a book about being on this secret journey that no one knows about and losing weight and no one ever knowing. And it's going to be so unique and interesting. Since social media, I have found, and since the petition in general, I have found that there is a tremendous, huge amount of people who are not talking about it. They're not talking about the lack of affordability. And I think it's largely due to the fact that they're not talking about it. People are so ashamed of the stigma and the negativity surrounding people that use this medication that they are not talking about it. My experience was not unique at all. I have seen so many accounts named like Secret Manjaro Journey and all these memes about what can you say when people ask you how you lost weight? What are some funny excuses you can use? Here's the crazy thing, okay? I start this petition and my dad, the supportive, wonderful person that he is, he goes to work and he's like, hey, my daughter started this petition. And his coworker's like, oh, I'm taking that. And then he tells his next coworker and they're like, oh, I'm taking that. And then he tells the next one, same thing. And then he tells his boss and his boss is like, well, I haven't told anyone this yet, but I'm actually on that. And my dad's like, yeah, you and everyone else in the office. Not to mention, there is a stigma for people who are not diabetic using this medication. I was borderline pre-diabetic. Being borderline pre-diabetic leads to prediabetes, which leads to diabetes. So by preventing this, I don't have to suffer further, and I don't have to worry about damaging my organs or shortening my lifespan or risking certain cancers or, worst case scenario, losing my limbs or going blind. And people should be able to prevent those kind of things happening when they're clearly on a trajectory and they've tried everything. In fact, I don't even think people should have to try everything and suffer before they're given appropriate health care to manage their illnesses.
I think it's especially compelling that we are dealing with an issue that is so isolating, it's alienating. People feel like it needs to be repressed and hidden because of shame and stigma. So there's so much strength and bravery to see people putting their names or even their faces on websites like change.org, where they record messages, video even, because to them, this is how important it is to combat all of the fears that you stated. Because suddenly they see a way forward, a way where they don't have to live under that shadow.
That's actually what I wanted to say. I'm so glad that you brought that up, because on these social media sites, I found people that were so incredibly brave and empowered and courageous and embracing themselves fully and unashamed to share their bodies and how different they were. There is nothing that's more fascinating to me than watching someone give themselves the shot. I think that it's because I'm seeing a body that looks like mine, and I'm seeing someone who feels truly empowered and proud of the way that they look and happy to share it. And it gives me like secondhand courage and empowerment just watching it. And every week I have recorded myself giving myself the shot. And while I feel a lot more confident with my physical being, I am still not at the point where I feel like I could confidently share any of that footage. And it makes me feel incredibly ashamed. But I know that at the same time, if someone else was telling me this themselves, I would say, no, everyone takes their own journey, and eventually maybe you'll get to that point. And if you're not, then it's totally fine. But I'm very hard on myself. I feel like as a person who is literally the founder of a nonprofit organization to empower people on GLP-1 journeys, I am truly ashamed that I haven't taken that step, and that I'm just living in the shadow of all of these other amazing people who have. In fact, I just think about who might see it and then judge me cruelly. And then at the same time, I see other people, lifting their shirts up or wearing sports bras with pride. And I'm just like, they look amazing. And I just wish that I could be more like them.
If you were to ask me, I think it's more compelling the fact that you haven't, because here you are, someone who said, I'm going to do something because the world has to change and I can be involved with seeing that happen. And yet this thing that you have is so demonizing that you can't even share yourself like you've seen all these other people do because of all of the worries that it gives you.
It's from a lifetime of being stigmatized, of being put down, of having my ex-husband call me chubs, of having my first long-term boyfriend call me fat and squeeze my stomach. It's from being a teenager working at a grocery store, having the women who work there tell me, your face is so pretty. If you just lost weight, you would be attractive. It's from a lifetime of being put down that I'm now at this place where I would love to love myself. But it just feels almost impossible. I love my personality. I'm perfectly happy with that part of me. And sometimes I think, okay, maybe I can, love myself today. But making that first video on social media, the first 10 were so incredibly uncomfortable. The only reason why I've been able to come out of my shell more is because of the amazing community that's been so, like I said, empowered and welcoming.
I think it's poetic. We started the conversation by talking about how we were friends who found each other through the internet because it was a means for us to portray ourselves as who we knew we were outside of the judgment that we feel like, the biases, the stigmas that would have prevented us from making these connections. And now through this drug, you have an opportunity to come into contact with the person that you believe you are, the person that you are inside, and be able to display that to the world. And I think that's a wonderful thing.
Oh, I love that you put it that way. That was so poetic because I've seen a lot of people talking about how small they made themselves in social settings because they were treated poorly or looked down on or seen as disgusting or less than. It kept a lot of people from feeling comfortable in social settings. And so they would make themselves very small, now they're loud and outgoing and so confident, and people see that, and I think that it gives them the wrong impression. I mean, people who have not experienced this, people who have not been obese, they see beautiful women who are so cocky and so incredibly in your face. I am super sexy and I know it. And if you don't think so, then bye. And I think that they're intimidated and they look down on it and they're like, oh, you didn't do it the healthy way. Essentially, they're less than worthy because they have an illness that they were able to treat with medication, and they're finally feeling empowered for the first time. If anything, those people should be lifted up and allowed to scream to the heavens how good they feel and do cartwheels in the freaking grass and celebrate in any way that they want to. Because, I mean, like I said, people who couldn't even walk are running, and people who couldn't stand looking at themselves in the mirror are taking pictures of themselves with pride.
I really love this mental image that you're sharing, because it sounds like to me all of these TV ads we would get for like, oh, you have to take this medicine. And it's like people running around in fields and holding their children and laughing. But like what's crazy to me is that this is actually as advertised. This is what this drug is doing. It's giving people the ability to live their life like they're in a medication commercial, except you don't have to worry about the, risk of death or diarrhea that comes afterwards.
Well, I mean, some people might get diarrhea. Some of that is like dosing, some of that is your body just reacting, and some of that is diet. In fact, I'd say I personally think that a lot of that is diet related, because I'll tell you, if I eat something super greasy, I will regret it.
It's not a medicine to make you Superman. It's just a medicine to make a
No.
man feel super.
That's hilarious. Well, the guy, Tappy Squires, the guy that I interviewed on the last podcast, fabulous person, so incredibly grateful for him to be my very first guest. I will never forget him. His story was incredible. And at the very end, I'm not sure if you heard it, but he said, I asked him for a picture for the podcast so that we could humanize it. And he said, for the first time in my life, I don't mind having a picture of myself out on the internet. I think that's an incredible statement. And again, I don't think that people who haven't been there can fully understand it. And I'm just working to try to make them, and not like force them, but make them want to understand it.
This is a mountain you're willing to stage your life on, because to me, that sounds like it's worth it.
Well, I'm going to do every single thing I can. So you asked me what the plans are with the nonprofit. In the moment, I am drafting the bylaws, and I'll be working with my very incredible board of directors to make sure that we're all in agreement when we file them. Once we file and get approval for tax exemption, then we'll be a bona fide tax exempt nonprofit, but we are officially registered right now. I am planning on starting one support group once a month to start, and depending on participation, we'll grow that. Again, if participation is high, then we're going to start a forum on the website or in tandem so that people can communicate with each other after the support group. I know that people feel really connected with each other after spending an hour crying with each other. So that way they can stay in contact, and we can make sure that people are genuinely happy with the support that they're receiving. We're also going to add a section to the website that has educational resources, because I myself and have heard from other people that there is not really a centralized place for education that you feel like you can trust. I know there are a lot of absolutely fantastic telehealth companies out there, but with all of the fear mongering for compounded medication, a lot of people who start their journey don't necessarily feel comfortable going there for their first bit of information. So I feel like having a legitimate nonprofit will give people the comfort in, okay, we can trust the information on this website. And to make sure that they feel like they can trust it, I'm going to have doctors who give me that information and are on the website so that we can prove it's from a reputable source and that they can feel comfortable with the education that they're receiving. From there, what I would really like to do is have a page with a map of the US and each state with little dots for all of the physicians in the area and the telehealth companies that support the use of GLP-1s when it's needed. I would like to have dots in every one of the states for physicians that are happy to support their patients on their GLP-1 journeys, because I didn't have that. My doctor, who I have had a great relationship with, was happy to provide a prescription for Zepbound, but when my insurance company would not cover that, she tried to talk me out of compounding pharmacies. And I'm so glad that I did not listen to her, because I have found this journey. So I want to make sure that everyone has the support that they need, if that's through a support group, if that's through medical support or educational resources, definitely through empowerment and affordable access, because they can't have any of it without affordable access.
Listening to this roadmap, it's like, this is legitimate. It's an incredible, indispensable resource for people who will need it.
I hope so. Well, and it's not just to get the medication. It's to find a physician who can truly help support them and treat them for what their body needs. And I will say that GLP-1s might not be for everyone, but the vast majority of people have insulin resistance that is not tested or treated through their provider. And GLP-1s treat insulin resistance. So everyone should have a doctor that is willing to test or treat whatever illness they have. And I just want to make sure that they have those resources available to them.
Listening to your story really puts into perspective how something so simple can actually, in practicality, seem extremely difficult. I know you'll do it.
I'm going to do it.
You're going to do it.
I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And this is the first time in my life that I have truly seen a path for my future, mapped out step by step. I know exactly what I'm going to do. And I say going to because I'm going to do it.
I'll stick around for the ride along just to see what happens.
You're going to be my very first volunteer. And oh my God, am I grateful, because I am one-manning all of this right now. So, to anyone listening, I desperately need volunteers. If you want to get involved in any way, shape, or form, especially if you have technical skills or web development skills, or actually any way possible, because the list could go on with all of the skills that I need support with. I would be so grateful for anyone willing to help grow this movement.
I'm doing my part.